then there was one.
That's right.
We had 4 county teams involved in playoff games this past weekend. And you also covered Slippery Rock on Saturday. I covered the North Catholic Dairy game on Friday and the Montauk Ridgeway game on Saturday. Each game kind of had its own storyline. And John, I want to start off with you. You covered 2 of these games. What stood out for you about your coverage?
Offensive line for Seneca Valley. I mean, right away, they controlled the line of scrimmage. Seneca Valley. Imagine anybody doing this to a North Allegheny defense. They ran for 234 yards and 47 carries in that game. Jake Meinweiser, 29 carries for 147 yards. Talking to him after the game, he immediately credited the offensive line, saying, "This was not me. I mean, any of our backs could have run through the holes they were opening up," and he was right. They weren't blowing the Tigers off the ball, but they were effectively opening up creases, finding holes for these running backs. And to me, Seneca's offensive line carried the night for them, especially the way that game started. With Allegheny returning the opening kickoff, 63 yards inside Seneca's 30. Seneca hit the kid out of bounds for another 15 yards. NA ends up scoring 41 seconds into the game. You're thinking, oh man, what a horrible start. But,
I saw your tweet.
Yeah, but then Seneca, they drive back 75 yards for a touchdown, and they also had touchdown drives of 91 and 94 yards. That's all O-line. It's as simple as that for me.
Mike, you kind of saw these games from afar. I'm sure you kept track of tweets. What stuck out for you?
Well, obviously Seneca Valley. I picked them to win, but I didn't think they would win this convincingly. Like John said, they dominated offensive line. Meinweiser has kind of been a difference maker for them running the ball. Obviously, when you get the holes he got, it helps. But I think he adds a different dimension than maybe Matt Stanger had for them. Gives them something else, another look. Mm-hmm. Another thing that struck out was Montauk and Slippery Rock going up against number 1 seeds. Played pretty well in those games. Montauk lead late. Slippery Rock was knocking on the door, taking the lead, and obviously things didn't work out for them. And I might as well hit on North Catholic too. Being up 29-8.
Yep, 29-8.
And then ended up losing. What a way to end the season. That's
tough.
We talked last week about what North Catholic team was going to show up. It was like both of them showed up.
Yeah.
The one that was successful and the one that struggled. Unfortunately, the one that struggled came in the second half.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. The helter-skelter North Catholic reared its ugly head again.
I covered the North Catholic Dairy game, and I know Dairy's good, and I didn't think they were going to fold by any stretch, but when it was 29-8 late in the third quarter, I said, okay, we're going to have North Catholic playing at Heinz Field next week. I firmly believe that. I didn't. Dairy could have came back and scored a couple touchdowns. I did not think they were going to come back and win the game.
Oh yeah. I want to touch on that Siprock Grove City game. Even though the final score doesn't seem to indicate it, Siprock could have won that ball game. I mean, they're down. It was 2 turnarounds that dictated the outcome of that game. In my view, the first one at the end of the first half, Siprock's trailing 7-3. They're driving downfield. They get it inside the Grove City 30, and they turn the ball over on downs at the Grove City 20 with 1 minute and 3 seconds left. And I think Grove City may have had one timeout left. And Grove City turns around and goes 80 yards in 9 plays, using every second of that clock. Literally, they threw a 10-yard touchdown pass to Logan Lutz with 1 second left when they snapped the ball.
That's what Grove City does.
Yeah,
they're so good at that.
They do.
They're good at forcing turnovers, which they did again, and they're good at driving the field in a short period of time because of the way their offense is set up. Obviously, that was a huge turning point because it went from what? 7
It went from 7 to 3, and Siprock moving in for a go-ahead score. To now they're down 13-3 at halftime.
14 points.
Yeah, now that would deflate most teams, but then second half, Siprock comes out. Grove City also gets the ball to start the third quarter, a chance to put the game away. But Brady Callahan throws a rare pick. And Siprock runs it back inside the 20. They end up punching it in. They miss the point, but it's 13-9. Then Grove City throws another pick, and Siprock has the ball. They're driving for the go-ahead score. 4th and 4, 4th and 6, whatever it was. They complete a pass. Siprock completes a pass for Whitby first down. The kid had the first down yardage made, He's fighting for more yardage. Ball's pried loose. Grove City recovers at like the 9-yard line of Grove City, and then they go on like a 9-yard drive the other way and score again. Those two turnarounds dictated
And
the outcome of that game.
Larry Winters told me that in the preview, that we have to know when to go down, because Grove City is good at having a couple guys hold you up and a third guy come in and strip the ball. That's exactly what happened in that situation. It changes the game.
Slip Rock ends up scoring 9 points. They kicked a field goal early. They ended up scoring 9 points, but they got inside Grove City's 30 3 other times and came away empty. And
It was like Tampa Bay.
that was different. But that was different to the ball right there.
One other note I want to give about this past weekend's coverage of the Ridgeway Montauk game. Montauk, through 3 quarters, this game was played in Du Bois, had outgained Ridgeway by 151 yards, but they only had a 7-0 lead.
Yep.
And their inability to score more points and take a bigger lead came back to bite them, because with 7.5 minutes to go, Ridgeway scored. Then they kick a pooch kick, recover that, and they ended up scoring another touchdown. But
And I guess the
Montauk
penalty problems had
penalty, 68 penalty yards in the first half, and they could have scored more, but they didn't, and they fall to Ridgeway 15-7. One thing, our next topic.
You know what? But prior to going on to the next topic, Larry Wonder is a Strip Rock coach. Said as much after the game. What we're talking about with both the Strip Rock game and the Montauk game is yardage is great, and it's great to be able to move the ball. But the bottom line is you got to score. You got to punch it in, and if you don't punch it in against a quality opponent, you're not going to win. And that proved to be the case for both Strip Rock as well as Montauk.
Thanks to those pooch kicks, Montauk had, I believe it was 7 plays in the fourth quarter. 7 plays, and they gained 6 yards. So they didn't have the ball for long, and when they had it, they didn't do much with it. They came back to bite them. One thing I want to focus on here is in a couple plays, a couple decisions that happened in that North Catholic Derry football game. Again, North Catholic has a big lead, 29-8, late in the third quarter. And Derry starts chipping away. They score a touchdown late in the fourth quarter to make it 29-28, still in favor of North Catholic.
Right.
Derry elects to go for 2, and they don't get it. And I also want to point out, this isn't on your sheet. This also happened in the Ridgeway Montauk game. Montauk's up 7-0.
Ridgeway went for 2.
Ridgeway went for 2 after scoring a touchdown, and they got it. They did theirs out of a fake extra point set. Their holder took the ball, stood up, was trying to pass, didn't find anybody open, and ran it in. But regardless of the teams involved, the point is you're down by 7 in the fourth quarter. You score a touchdown to close within 1, and you end up going for 2. You decide to go for 2. John, do you have a problem with that? Obviously, this game turned out in Derry's favor, but do you have a problem with that decision?
None whatsoever. I'll tell you why. Because number one, to me, it shows 2 things. The high school football, it's the playoffs. Number one, it's a coach showing confidence in his kids, showing confidence in his team. Hey, we're not just going to tie this game. We're going to take the lead right now. We're going to go for this. And number 2, you're playing to win. I mean these coaches are playing to win. Kids feed off that attitude. They feed off that kind of confidence that the coach is showing in them. Me personally, no problem with the call whatsoever.
Eamon Straub is the North Catholic defender who sacked Paul Kuntz, the Derry quarterback, on that play. Mike, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback in a situation like this, but what are your thoughts on that 2-point call?
See, I don't like it. I just kick the extra point, tie the game. You can stay alive, because what if they never got the ball back? What if they never got another chance? Then you're looking back at us saying, man, if we just kick the extra point, we'd still be playing. We'd still have a chance. Here, you basically you're rolling the dice, basically, because I know in the NFL the 2-point conversion is about 50-50. You're basically flipping a coin on your season. I'd say you stay in the game as long as you can. Same thing with Ridgeway. Obviously in high school, kickers are vastly, you have some teams have good ones, some teams don't. That kind of dictates what they do. But I don't know. Was Derry's kicker capable of making an extra point? Was Ridgeway's kicker capable of making an extra point?
How much time was left when they did this? How much time was left?
In the game when they went for 2, I believe there was 1:46.
Yeah,
wow.
1:46.
It's gutsy. It's gutsy. Like I said, it's gutsy.
It's gutsy, but
it's gutsy.
It can also backfire on you.
Sure can.
Catholic runs the clock out. Then Derry's like, why don't we kick the extra point?
Sure can, but you can say you roll the dice here, but you roll the dice in overtime too. I mean,
Yeah,
I
but at least,
mean, going in overtime is also going to
but at
Ducks.
least
You
in
don't know what's
overtime
gonna
you
happen.
have, I don't know how to put this, you have more dice to roll. Here you're rolling
Yeah, you
one
do,
die,
you do.
hoping you get, basically you're hoping to get
craps.
evens. You're
Yeah.
hoping to get even.
Okay, well, we'll
To
see.
make it, or odd, you don't make it.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts, Derek? What do you think?
Up till that point, after North Catholic went up 29-8, for the next 3 drives, Barry's defense shut them down. So it depends on which way you look at it. If they go for 2 and don't get it, as was the case, you could say, well, our defense is going to get the ball back for us. And that's Tim Sweeney told me that. He said, we felt if we went for 2 and didn't get it, our defense would get the ball back for us. But more than
Did they have
that,
a timeout stop at that time?
they had 1 timeout.
They had one timeout.
In this
They got lucky.
instance,
They got lucky.
in this instance, he said the biggest thing was, aside from our defense, they had confidence in their defense, but we were going for the win. He said, you know, if you get the 2, then all of a sudden you're saying, okay, defense, go out and stop North Catholic to win the game. So
They got lucky because North
you're
Catholic
putting-
decided to throw the ball on 3rd and long.
that's the next. North
If
Catholic.
they don't do that, they don't win.
You know what? Another factor here that we really haven't looked at is they were at that point in the game. They were riding momentum too. I mean, because North Catholic was blowing this big lead.
Yeah, and not getting that
They were riding
could have
momentum.
destroyed their momentum. It could have ended their season.
Could have.
If you have momentum, you can
just
keep
because
keep it going.
but just because you don't, just because a play called or just because a decision doesn't work out doesn't mean it was a bad decision. I mean, it's like I said, is it gutsy? Obviously it is. But
I
just
think it was a bad
because you don't
decision,
score,
whether it
doesn't
worked out or not.
mean it's a bad decision.
Let's see if you guys agree on this one. North Catholic stops Derry on the 2 points, so North Catholic is up 29-28.
Right.
They kick off. North Catholic is facing a 3rd and long from their own end, and at this point, Derry, I believe they were out of timeouts, and they elect to throw the ball on 3rd and long as opposed to just running it and
Run it
keeping that
and
clock
punt
running.
Run it.
Again.
The pass is intercepted.
Again, how much
Return-
time is left on the play starts?
Probably less than a
At
minute.
that point, no, actually, I had it when North Catholic stopped the 2-point conversion. There was actually 2:37 left. When
Okay.
this second play happened, there was 1:46 left. So there's
Oh, so
1:46.
there's still time left. There's still
Yeah.
plenty of time left then.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a problem with going with the first down. I
Got
mean,
my times mixed up. That was
once again, you're playing when you've got a veteran quarterback. You don't count.
Really bad
I mean,
weather.
I'm not.
Really
yeah,
bad weather.
yeah, that's true. But you got to look at the weather too. I have to admit that. But you don't count. And I'm not trying to put this on the quarterback. I didn't see the play. But the last thing you think is going to happen is you're going to throw a pick six. That's the last thing in the world you think is going to happen. I mean, you're playing to win the game. Derry, like as we pointed out earlier, they've got all the momentum. Derry's offense is rolling. You don't want to give the ball back to them with a 1-point deficit. They got plenty of time to come down and score. Plus, you know, it's also bad weather. You could shank a punt, you can get a punt blocked. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, North Catholic gets that first down. Derry never sees the ball again.
You play
That's all
the
I'm saying.
percentages. The
Play to
percentages
win.
say you run the ball. They have no timeouts, so you can run it down to what? Under a minute.
basically.
Then you punt it and play defense.
That's playing not to lose. Play to win.
No, it's
Play-
not.
That's
It's playing
not to lose.
It's
That's
playing
to
smart.
lose.
That's
It's
what it
playing not
is.
to lose.
It's playing smart.
The weather was horrible that night. We're talking about a high school game here. There's no guarantee this punt is even going to be effective. There's no guarantee of anything.
There's even less guarantee that a pass is going to be effective.
Well, I don't know if you can put
Just
the
to
percentage.
fill our viewers in on what happened, I don't think I've actually been able to mention this because it's just talking.
Yeah, well, let's go.
North Catholic passed the ball on 3rd and 8 from their own 29-yard line, and the ball was returned for a pick six.
Right.
And that ended up being the deciding score of the game. So I think it's easy in a situation like this to basically just look at the result of the play and say it was a bad call. I will say this: between the two calls, I agree with Tim Sweeney's call over Patrick O'Shea's call. I think here, if I was Patrick O'Shea and I'm going to run a play on 3rd down, why not roll Rocco out? And in that situation, if nothing's wide open, you run it. And if you don't get the first down, just make sure you stay in bounds.
So
keep
what
the
was the
clock
actual play? Was it just a straight drop back?
Straight drop back, and this kid from Derry came off the edge, rushed Rocco, and he threw an off-balance pass.
Okay.
So, just Roethlisberger did this last week. He saw nothing was open,
did,
and he
right.
took a sack just to
Right.
keep that
Right.
clock running.
Right.
But hey, I mean, it's
Yeah,
one of those things that if the calls work out in the team's favor,
Oh,
it's
nobody
great.
even talks. Nobody even talks about it. If they get a first down, nobody even talks about
I'm
it.
just saying,
It's not even an issue.
You got to play the percentages at that point. This is the playoffs. The stakes are higher. you have to put your kids in the best position to win, and the best position for North Catholic to win that game was to run the ball, third down, and punt. You can't
You
let
could
it-
run and get a
I
first
disagree.
down.
No,
You could
no.
run and get a first down.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But
You
I just
can't worry about we're gonna muff the punt.
the last.
We're
No,
gonna
I'm
strike the
not
punt,
saying,
we're
but
gonna do this,
so
we're gonna do that.
again, I wasn't at the game. Derek was at the game, but the way I read that, the way that game was going, Derry's offense was at that point in the game was on fire. The last thing I want to do is give them back the ball. The last thing I want to do. They still had time to score. They still had time to come
Oh,
back.
yeah, they did. They
The
did.
same thing with Ridgeway. Why would you said their kicker was capable of kicking an extra
Oh, yeah.
point?
Yeah, he was.
See, to me, that the extra point question, it depends on the kicker. If you have a kicker who consistently can make extra
Well,
points,
well,
you
let's
gotta
put it
get
this
an
way.
extra point, and that's it.
Later in the game, he kicked an extra point to give them their 15th and final point. So I don't know how much he has kicked this year, how well he's done, but he did kick an extra
But the
point.
Ridgeway thing was a little different. It was a fake. So
But that,
It was
yeah, that's
that
another.
was a little different than saying, okay, we're going to line up conventionally and go for two. They probably had this in their back pocket, figuring, okay, maybe Montel's aggressive going after the extra point. We can catch him in something. And obviously they did. So that's a little different.
Let's go back to this Montauk Ridgeway game. How much time was left when Ridgeway scored the second touchdown?
The second touchdown?
Yeah, how much time was left?
2:07.
Okay, so here's my question. If you gamble when you're down 7-6 and you gamble to go for two,
You know,
why
why
wouldn't
not
you
go
go for two again?
Put the
When
game away.
and yeah, if you make the 2 point of the second time, the game's over. Because
Yeah.
now you're up 9.
I know-
They
I
can't.
know
They're not going to
that-
catch you.
I know
They
that
can't catch you.
Montauk has Cody Wise kicking, who's been pretty decent since they
Yeah.
put him in there, but still.
If they score,
They're not the
Montauk's
best
probably
extra
going to
point
kick it.
kicking
Montauk's
team.
probably going to kick it
Yeah.
going overtime.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. I think that's even a bigger question. Why wouldn't you, if you went for two the first time to take the lead, why wouldn't you go for two to put the game away?
Well, again, it's
after the second
percentages.
score?
Montauk has to score a touchdown, and then they have to get the 2 point conversion.
Right,
So
right.
basically, they have to score twice. You can stop them.
But again, and I know Wise is a good kicker, but you also have to factor in the weather. The weather over the week was terrible. I mean, a kicking game, even a good kicker, you could struggle in that kind of weather, even on an extra point. I mean, I saw it with both kickers on Saturday night. The weather was terrible.
I'm going to track down Ridgeway head coach Mark Hines' phone number, and you can call him up.
No, I'm just curious about that. I'm just curious
saying.
about it. That's all.
Let's move
I
on.
mean, if
with-
you went for it the first
You
time,
gotta
why
play
not
the
second time?
percentage. You gotta put your kids in the best position to win the game.
It-
and win the game.
In short, it was a heartbreaking loss for North
Oh,
Carolina.
no question.
Up 21 late in the third quarter, and
Yep.
to lose 36-29. Derry moves on to the Whitfield Championship game at Heinz Field, where they will play Aliquippa. Let's move on to a topic that I'm sure we'll be in much more agreement with here. Recently, two of our schools had their football coach step down. We're talking about Knox Frank Whalen and Summit Academy Steve Shear. John, you talked to both of these guys. I
did.
believe you did a story on both of these guys.
Yep.
What sticks out, number one, about what each guy was able to do with each of these programs, and the fact that they had to step down for different reasons?
Well, you know what? These two guys are prime reasons why I love high school coaches, not just in football, but in all sports, for two reasons. Number one, they're passionate for kids. Because let's face it, these guys make peanuts coaching these teams in any sport. They don't make money doing this. And so the passion for kids and the dedication to the game, the dedication to their sport. These two guys, Frank Whalen at Knox and Steve Shear at Summit Academy, for different reasons. I mean, Frank Whalen had a job change where he had some work to do on his job across the state, Philadelphia. 2 days a week after practice, he had to drive to Philadelphia. 2 days a week. That would be brutal. I mean, every week of the season, he had to do this. And the only reason he didn't give up the job the previous summer, because he knew that this was going to happen the previous summer. You know, the summer prior to this football season. The only reason he didn't step down was because Knock had all these injuries in preseason. You guys remember that? And he said our team was kind of in flux. We weren't sure what was going to happen. I couldn't leave this program in the lurch like that. I had to stick it out. Again, it comes down to the passion for his players and dedication to the game. And Steve Shear, what can you say about him? 18 years at Summit Academy. Took them to the playoffs a couple times, one winning season. We all know the situation there. They don't bring kids back. They have no returning players every year. 95% of the roster had never played organized football before, so he had to teach these kids how to put the stuff on, put on shoulder pads, put on the knee. They don't know how to do that. But again, it's his concern and dedication to the kids in that situation at that school. That's what stands out for me.
Yeah, Shearer is one of the most unique coaches in all high school football. Not
He
just
is.
in the state, but
Yep.
I'm sure there's other schools like Summit Academy have similar coaches. But in our coverage area, he's a unique coach because of what he has to do every year. Like you said, very few guys come back. He's basically got to teach some kids basically, the basics of football. And yet he's had some competitive teams there. This year notwithstanding, a rough year this year, but the job he's done there, I don't think can be lauded enough. Just what Steve Shearer meant to
No
some
question.
academy football.
He won 28% of his games there, which doesn't sound very good, but
For
when-
a
but-
program like
but
that, it's very good.
Yes, but when he took over the program, they were entering their fourth year as a football program. The
Yeah,
first
won a
first
game.
3 years, 0-28. First 3
Yeah,
years,
won a game.
0-28.
And obviously, with a school like Summit Academy, you're not only coaching football, but you're trying to help. And I know he's not the only kid there, or I'm sorry, the only person at Summit Academy. John McLeod, the AD, is helping too. But
Oh,
you're trying to help these kids turn their life around
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
So,
It's more than just football there.
and
For
as
sure.
far as Frank Whalen said, as you said, he could have stepped down before.
No,
this
but,
year.
and nobody would have blamed him. No one would have blamed
You
him.
gotta give him
Nobody
a
would
lot
have
of
blamed
credit for
him.
sticking that
You
out.
do.
And he
Not all
almost
guys would have done that.
almost
Yeah.
got the Knights to the playoffs. So kudos to both of those guys, Frank Whalen at Knock and Steve Shearer at Summit.
Yeah, and the other thing, these are only 2 examples of, like I said, that's what I love about high school coaches. I mean, it's the passion and the dedication. These are the 2 examples, but we have a lot of other coaches of all sports in this county and beyond this county who, that's why they coach, because they care about it. They can do it for fun. They care about what they're doing.
We are going. I didn't think I was going to have an over/under segment this week, but the fact that we have a team still playing, we're gonna
All
go
right.
for it.
Oh,
Over.
Can't wait to hear these. Let's go.
Under,
Ready.
and I'm gonna look at the 2 prime running backs. So there's players for several teams that run the ball, but for Pine Richmond and Seneca Valley, for the Rams, it's Luke Meckler, who had 124 yards on just 6 carries this past week. In the earlier game against Seneca Valley this year, he had 210 yards in that Rams win back in October. And Jake Meinweiser, who's burst onto the scene here, this time last month he was getting 2-3 carries. I actually remember a few games where Jake Meinweiser didn't get any carries.
Yeah.
And now he has 466 yards over the last 4 games. When you look at these 2 guys, and obviously they're going to be focal points for the offense, their respective offenses, the over-under is 350 yards combined from these 2 guys. Mike, I'm going to start with you. Over-under 350 yards by these 2 running backs, Jake Meinweiser for Seneca.
yeah,
and Luke Meckler for
I'll go
Pine Richmond.
over. I'll go over. I think both these guys are going to have pretty big games for respective teams. Whoever ends up with probably more rushing yards is probably going to dictate which team is probably going to come out on top. Because I think this game, we'll get to the pick later, get to the discussion later. I think this game is going to be one of those roll the dice, like we were talking about earlier, coin flip games. So
Roll the dice, take a chance, Joe.
roll the dice, take a chance. So I'll go over. Yeah, I think that's what 170 yards, 175 yards a piece.
Per guy, yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike's
I
going
can,
over.
I can see them both getting right around that number.
Mike, I'm sorry, John, you just covered this Seneca team, and
I did.
what are your thoughts? Can both of these guys combine for 300?
I'm going under. The defenses are too good on both sides of the ball. In fact, I'll bet. Well, I'm not going to bet. I don't bet on high school football. I don't want to put that perception out there, not even for a second. But I'll be surprised if they go over 250 combined.
Wow.
I will. I think defenses are too good.
Well, I'm actually I'm going to go over here, but I want to make a point. Meckler ran for 210 yards in that
He did.
earlier meeting against Seneca,
He did.
and Pine Richmond still only scored 21 points. So I think Seneca's going to do a good job of considering who they're playing.
That will not happen again. I'm telling you, Seneca Valley is a different team now, and especially, I mean, North Allegheny can run the ball. Granted, not as good as Pine Richmond, but they can run the ball. They were stifled. In fact, I have the numbers for North. 31 carries for 111 as a team for NA. That's it. I mean, this. I don't see Meckler having a repeat performance. Let's put it that way.
As
I don't see
you
that.
pointed out earlier, yards are good, but the key is scoring points.
Yes, it is.
And Seneca's defense, I believe, is going to do a good job of making it tough on the Rams to score points. But I think both running backs are going to have good days, and I'm going to go over on 350 yards.
So I'll tell you flat out, and like I said, we're going to get to the picks later, but I'll tell you flat out, Seneca's going to make that sophomore quarterback beat him. That's all. They're going to make him beat him.
Well, he can run the ball too. He actually
He
had
can.
he had 116 yards in the first meeting, and I was actually going to mention him later when we picked the game. But so I'm going over. John's going under, and Mike's going over. So
All right.
Oh,
Good discussion on that one.
The
What else you got? What else you got?
the next one is the Pine Richland won the game 21-7 back in October.
Right.
The over-under for this game, not picking the game yet, but the combined points from both teams. I'm going to start off with you, John. 45.5 over-under.
Oh, well, that's a good number there.
Of course, I spent all night thinking.
Yeah. Oh wow, I'm going under again. Like I said, it was only 28 points scored in the last meeting. I'm going under again. I think it'll be low scoring again.
Mike?
I'm going under because I already had a score in mind, and we'll get to it later. And it's going to be like about as close to being under as you can get. So I have the two teams combined to score 45 points. So you have it, what, 45 and a half?
Yep, 45.
So, yeah, so then I have to go under because of the math.
There
Math
you go.
doesn't lie.
There you go.
I see this game, like I said, I think both teams are going to get yards. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. So I hate to agree with you guys, but I'm going to go under here too. Not by much. I'll save my pick for later, but I'm going under, so we're all going under on that one. This one, I don't know if we're actually going to be able to. Do they actually put out attendance numbers on games held in Heinz Field, like after the game? Do you see them anywhere?
I think they do.
Someone,
Actually.
we might
I
have
think
to
they
check
do.
into this because I got just to give you guys a point of reference. This past week, the Derry North Catholic game, I was talking to Hempfield. That's where the game was held. Hempfield's AD Greg Meisner, Derry requested 2,000 tickets for that game. He said he got rid of all. They basically sold all 2,000,
Okay.
and that's Derry. That's a 3A school.
Yeah.
So this is a Whitfield championship game coming up here at Heinz Field between Seneca Valley and Pine Richland. The over/under I got for you is 7,500 fans. Derry just took 2,000 to watch a semifinal.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm going to start off with you. 7,500 people over/under
Oh,
combined.
it's going to
fans.
go over. It's going to go over because both communities love their football teams, and they're going to travel well. It's a primetime game Saturday night at Heinz Field. You can't get a better time or place for a game like that. The thing is, you get 10,000 people in Heinz Field. It's not going to
Still
look like
looks
there's a lot of
empty.
people
Right,
in
Still
there.
looks empty.
But yeah, I think you're going to get. I would say they're going to get close to 9,000 probably before it's all said and done. I think a lot of people who are just football fans are going to go to this game. Maybe not even fans of each team.
7,500 fans. John, what's the
Oh, definitely over. And I agree with Mike. But plus another fact, it's the Whitfield championship game. There's going to be 4 games that day. A lot of high school football fans around Pittsburgh just make it a point to go down or just to hang out and watch football all day. And so there's going to be a lot of
Football
Do they
junkies.
clear
A lot of
the
leftover
stadium
fans.
between each game.
What's that?
They don't clear.
No.
So you buy a ticket.
It just rolls on through. Yeah, so
Wow,
a lot of people are going
that's
to stick
fair
around.
enough.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to stick around. I expect a pretty solid crowd for this game. In fact, I expect it to go over 10,000 by the time this game starts.
Wow.
There's going to be a lot of people.
I must have went too low on the over/under here, but I will say this: Pine Richland. We know Seneca draws well. When their teams do well, they draw.
Oh, they do.
Even baseball games. They went through a stretch of 4 straight years where they played in the Whitfield championship baseball game down at Wild Things Park in Washington. They draw well, especially in big games. So I expect them to bring a lot of fans, and Pine Richland does the same thing. They show up.
It was a miserable night last Friday night at NA. I mean, the weather, it was miserable. I'm talking miserable. Snow flurries, wet or cold rain, windy. Seneca Valley's stands were pretty full over there on the other side of the field at Newman Stadium. So
And
I
it's
can see it.
over. I'll go over. I don't know how much, but I want to. If I cover the game, we got to check the attendance numbers. We got to get.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we get that. Yeah.
I'd be surprised. Or I'd be interested to see those numbers at Heinz Field. But as Mike said, you could put 10,000 people in that stadium.
Oh,
it still
so
looks empty.
See, that's why. And I know.
Was it hold 62,
67.
67,000. Yeah.
And I understand that it's a thrill for the kids to play in an NFL stadium, and I get all that. But just for atmosphere, I think high school football atmosphere there is terrible. I mean, it's just too big of a venue. It's too big. I mean, I understand it's for the kids, and the kids love the thrill of playing on the same field as the Steelers play on. But as far as atmosphere, it's not there for me. It's not.
I like the idea of playing a professional field. I mean, just think of the chills some of these kids get.
Oh,
When they
sure.
Come out of the tunnel.
I get that. Yep. I get
that. And play on the same field that Ben Roethlisberger plays on, and Antonio Brown plays on. Le'Veon Bell doesn't play on.
Yeah. Well, used to play on. Used to play.
Doesn't play on now. Stuff like that.
But I love the atmosphere. After for example, after the Seneca Valley NA game, Seneca Valley's section, even the parents of these players storming the field after the game. You're not going to see that at Heinz Field because you obviously you're not allowed to go. You can't get down. So that's part of what I mean by atmosphere. And in a high school stadium or even a small college stadium where everyone's tighter in on it, and the noise is more, the intensity can be felt more. That's what I miss about high school football when they play.
Yeah, but these kids aren't going to say, "Hey, remember when we played at Robert Morris?"
I
say, "Hey, remember when we played at Heinz Field?"
I understand that.
That's what it's about. It's not about the atmosphere.
I get that side.
It's about the kids on the field.
And I get that side of it. Yeah, I do.
That's what these kids are hearing.
Sure.
There's 2 Whitfield title games that aren't being played at Heinz Field. I believe the 5A game, which they're still in the semifinals.
Right. And
That game, I believe, is being played at Norwin.
It is.
So you go from Heinz Field to Norwin, and the other game, I think it's the 2A game, being played at Robert Morris. 3A.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. 2A. Yeah, you're right.
So Robert Morris, Norwin, and
right,
Heinz Field. That's
right.
There you go. But now we want to get on to the picks here. I know we're all looking forward to the result of this game. One of us is going to be down there covering. And John, what do you see this game providing fans? How's it going to turn out?
Well, the revenge tour, as Ron Butchley calls it, which is really kind of cool. Seneca Valley has a chance to pull off a hat trick here, defeating all 3 teams in the postseason that beat them during the regular season. It would be a first, and it's got to be a first. Should they pull it off, it has to be. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening. I know I'm a wet blanket here. I get that, but this will be a great ball game. This will be a great ball game, but I see Pine Ridge coming up victorious, 21-14.
Mike, do you agree with John? Apparently not.
Of course not. Of course not.
I've been saying all year that Seneca, a couple weeks ago, and it'd be Central. I said they're going to knock the door down on some of these teams. Last week they knocked the door down on NA. They're going to do it again against Pine Richland. I see Seneca winning this one 25-20.
Wow. All right. Well, I think
you did go under 45 and a half, didn't you?
Yeah.
I see that the first time that these 2 teams played, Jake Meinweiser had 6 carries for 94 yards. That's kind of like the springboard that he used.
Yep.
The very next week, he started against Norwin, ran for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to get fed the ball a lot in this game. Obviously, as long as Seneca Valley can keep the game close, which I think they're going to. He has added a dimension to that offense that wasn't there. It wasn't there earlier in the year.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. I picked against Seneca against Central Catholic 2 weeks ago. I picked against them against NA last week. I had them losing.
Not good.
I had them losing. I had them losing close games, but the point is, I had them losing, and they won both games.
You better do my favor, take Pine Ridge. You better do it.
You
better do it.
Set out.
Taking Seneca Valley, they've earned my pick.
Sorry.
24-21. I just think Meinweiser can be that big of a difference in the game. Look at it this way: in the first game, Seneca's offense didn't do much at all, and they still only lost by 2 touchdowns. It wasn't like I got blown out.
I agree.
I will say this: that the first game, Seneca Valley's defense only gave up 21 points, but they also gave up 369 yards rushing. They've got to bring that down a little bit. Maybe under 250, maybe something like that. The quarterback ran for 116 yards for Pine Richland. So if Seneca Valley can take him out of the mix as far as rushing yards, basically put all the pressure on Luke Meckler, who's obviously their biggest ground gainer. I mean, he's definitely their leader in yards. I see Seneca Valley being able to win a game, and Seth Winters, who's kind of gone under the radar this year, he's a good kicker, and he could. Could you imagine this? All the field goal attempts at Heinz Field.
Yeah.
Seth Winters, Seneca Valley's kicker, lines up to kick, say, a 35-yarder with 2 seconds left on the clock. Could you imagine that atmosphere if he makes that kick?
Oh,
and I got Seneca Valley winning by 3, 24-21.
Be a better atmosphere in a high school stadium, but we're not going to see
Well,
it. No one's going to be storming the field if he makes it. Let's put it that way.
Played at Summit Academy. So we got two guys for Seneca Valley, 1 guy for Pine Richland, but I guarantee you he's hoping Seneca.
Oh, better believe it. Prove me wrong, Raiders. Prove me wrong. That's all I ask. Prove me wrong. That's all I ask.
We are going to move on to our How About segment. And this one, I'm not picking out any team in particular. I'm going to leave it up to you guys We've got 3 volleyball and soccer teams left: Seneca Valley boys soccer, Knock, and Freeport volleyball. We also had some teams just had their season ended this past weekend. So, Mike, I'm going to throw it to you first. What sticks out about the run that some of these teams are still on, or some of those?
Back to our high school teams, but I want to talk a little bit about Grove City College football. We have a number of local kids playing on that team: Ethan Conto, Luke Salerno, and Dalton Callahan from Carn City, Rob Kuntz from Butler, and Sam Henson from Seneca Valley. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Grove City has made a bowl game after winning 6 in a row.
Yeah.
7-3. They're in the James Lanaya Bowl against Morrisville State this Saturday. They play at home. They're playing at home against us in the ECAC. This is a program that just 2 years ago was on a 30-game losing streak.
Yep.
They went 4-6 last year. This year they started, I believe, 1-3, and they've won 6 straight. It's just a great story, a great turnaround for this program, which was about as low as you can get. Some local guys, like I just mentioned, they've had a big impact on this program. So I wanted to throw that out there. I wanted to mention those guys.
Well, you did that, yeah, because you're right.
That's an amazing
that's quite a
turnaround.
turnaround. It really
Quite a
is.
turnaround. We go from 0-30 plus to 7-3 and a bowl bid in less than a year and a half.
And the guy I think of on a team, because I covered him in high school, Rob Coons from Butler, who not only went through a few winless seasons at Grove City, he went through some winless seasons at Butler as well. And I'm thrilled for him as a senior to experience something like this.
Exactly.
It's
Well,
really
I'll get back to the
cool.
high school. I just wanted to mention that after you guys talk about what you guys think about
GCC.
high school.
GCC.
Yeah, I mean,
there you go.
I mean, Andrew DiDonato, kudos.
What
to him.
a job he's done. Yep.
I mean, and they're playing them. This is the most wins since 1997, back when a guy named R.J. Bowers was there.
I remember
They
him.
ran the ball
I remember
40 times
him.
a game.
Is that the NCAA rushing record?
Rushing record at the time. So, kudos to you, Grove City College, and the local guys we have on those teams. Some of these seniors had suffered through all these losing seasons, winless seasons, ridicule on campus. Some of them told me that they're kind of the butt of jokes on the campus, and here they are now.
Support your school.
Here they are now, 7-3 and rolling into a bowl game. So, congratulations,
John.
So, John, you can.
High school.
Okay, I'll start with
Now
high
go
school.
back. Now talk about high school.
I'll start with high school. One team that lost and one team that's still playing. I look at Seneca Valley boys and girls soccer. I mean, I haven't seen any of these playoff games. You guys have covered them. It's just a run, and I know Derek, you witnessed a lot of this because you covered a lot of these games. These postseason games for Seneca Valley's boys and girls that went into overtime, double overtime, penalty kicks, goalies making winning or game clinching penalty kicks and things like that. Just crazy stuff. And I know Seneca Valley's girls, they advanced by winning on penalty kicks, and then they got knocked out by losing on penalty kicks. And I know the boys teams went into overtime and they've survived and they're still playing. But it's got to be incredible. You talk about intensity in the playoffs and how tense they are and how nerve-wracking they are. For a soccer game to go into overtime and then penalty kicks, knowing your season's on the line if you lose, that's got to be incredible stuff for these high school kids. And that's what stands out to me in the playoffs so far are the ups and downs of overtimes and penalty kicks that both teams from Seneca Valley have gone through so far.
You kind of stole my thunder, but I'm going to kind of piggyback on
Okay.
you. Seneca Valley's girls, they won the Whitfield Championship by winning in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
They won in the first round of state on PKs, lost in PKs on Saturday, so their season's over. But one thing, that team was an incredibly tough out. You got to give credit to
absolutely.
Very incredibly tough out.
Study.
They kept Peters Township from winning a Whitfield title, knocked a Central Dolphin team out in the first round of the state playoffs. Central Dolphin came into that game having not won 3 games all year, and all 3 games were against the District 3 champion, Cumberland Valley.
Mm-hmm.
They tied Cumberland Valley during the regular season, lost to them. They played them twice because they were in the same conference, and then they lost to them in the District 3 championship game. But man, Seneca Valley's girls, a very tough out. Kudos to them on a great season. Seneca Valley's boys, and this is through 5 games, Whitfield and state playoffs. They have trailed for a grand total of 17 minutes in 5 games.
Wow. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It is.
And the only game they actually trailed in was the state first round this past Tuesday when they fell down 1-0 to Hempfield, the Eastern Hempfield.
Mm-hmm.
The game was played at Western Hempfield. And they came back and tied that game, beat Abington on Saturday 1-0. Seneca Valley's boys soccer team has trailed a grand total of 17 minutes in 5 playoff games.
And they've also shown they can win different kind of games. They won
Yeah.
a Whitfield final 5-2,
5-2.
so they can win a kind of a wide open game, and they can also show that they can win a low scoring game like they have
1-0.
last two times out. So Seneca, you want to talk about tough outs? They could very well be in Hershey.
Yeah,
We'll be talking
sure.
about them this week, playing for state, what they did in the state championship game.
Seneca Valley playing the 5th place team out of District 1.
That shows you how tough the District 1 is.
Yeah, it does.
Radnor, that game is Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. out in Chambersburg. Mike, you wanted
Seneca's
to,
home away from home.
like, you want to talk about Freeport volleyball?
Yeah, just when you think you're gonna write them off, they turn around and do what they did Saturday against North Catholic, a very, very, very good North Catholic team. That Freeport team, that was the best I've seen them play in all the years I've been covering volleyball and Coach Tom Phillips. He had them so prepared for this game. It was unbelievable. Tom Phillips watched so much film on North Catholic. He knew exactly where their hitters like to hit. He knew where to put the serves. He knew every little intricacy that North Catholic had. Coached his players up on it, and they brought out and performed.
He did his homework, so to speak.
He did it.
Yeah,
I mean,
he sure did.
it was a clinic on how to prepare for a team and how to execute a game plan. It was an absolute clinic. As good as North Catholic was, they were at a loss sometimes against Freeport. Freeport's just got gutsy, and it's weird to say this, but you have a defending state champion as an underdog in all these games, and they are because of the injuries and because some of the teams they play. But don't count them out. They can very well get back to the state championship game and win again.
I like the one stat you had when that Freeport came through four
It was
games.
85, 84.
84. That is crazy.
That's
that
how
is
back and
crazy
forth.
stuff.
That,
Yeah.
You know, there were some lopsided set wins, but when you all added it all together,
85, 84. That is crazy.
And then
yeah.
the last set was 15-12.
Yeah, that's what.
It was
Yeah.
great volleyball
nuts.
that day
Yep.
between two great teams, and Freeport just showed how gutsy and how determined they are, and they're going to be a tough out. We're talking about tough outs. They're
And
gonna be a tough
the
out.
return of Sarah Hedich had to help them.
Yeah, it helped them on defense. She was
Yeah.
still a little bit limited.
Yeah.
But just her height and just her presence in the middle, it altered some shots and,
Yep.
it set up the digs for Freeport. It does. She's so tall and has such long arms. It just alters everything that you try to do with the net. And knock, of course, is knock 48 straight. If they win a state title,
Going for 50. Yeah. Going for 50.
they're just rolling along. I have a feeling that we're going to be talking next week about two state volleyball state appearances again, back-to-back years. Freeport and Knock are going to be going back, I think. That's just my thoughts on it. So
Don't go jinx them now. Don't go
I don't think
Okay.
I don't believe in.
All right. You don't
Except
believe
for
in the
Derek
jinx?
picking. Except for Derek picking Seneca.
I'm 98-18 this year.
I know.
One thing, I mean, I know we all know what kind of talent there is in this county in different sports, but I just wanted to mention is Saturday is already a big day for us because we got Seneca Valley football playing at Heinz Field for the Whitfield Championship, and there's a chance we could have Seneca Valley boys soccer, Freeport volleyball, and Knock volleyball on the same day playing for state championships out east. What a great job, coaches, players, just a lot of great programs in this county. We have we're kind of spoiled when it comes to that. Some newspapers like my hometown down in Fayette
I
County,
know.
there's hardly anything covered down
They're
there.
waiting
All
for
the teams
basketball.
They stink. Well, they
They're
stink.
waiting for
Most of them
basketball
stinking
right
I
at
said a couple of weeks ago, this very well could be our most successful fall sports season ever, at least since I've been here.
And we were saying this about last year's fall sports season.
Yeah,
We
I
were
think
saying the
this is
exact same thing
I
last
think
year.
this is trumping that a little bit,
Yeah.
especially if Seneca soccer gets
What-
the state championship.
What the time would Seneca Valley's soccer game be if they win Tuesday?
6:30.
Oh, so
6:30.
So you couldn't go to Hershey to watch that and then drive back to Huntsville. You're not going to make it. You know, wouldn't be able to
You're
do
going to
that.
have to choose.
Yeah, you have
soccer
to
or
choose
football.
one or the other.
Choose
Yeah.
soccer or
But,
football.
good luck to all.
Volleyball, I believe, is 1 and 3:30 in
Yeah.
Mechanicsburg.
Mechanicsburg.
So.
Good luck to all our teams still playing, and we will see you